Welcome to Kind Animal Services. My name is Kelsey, and in this video I want to discuss Martingale collars. So we're going to do another equipment demoing type video. I've done some harness ones, I've got some other ones in the queue, but this one is all about the Martingale collar. So Martingale collars are pretty distinct. They all basically have the same functionality, and they're all going to look about the same. So they're pretty easy to identify a Martingale collar. We are talking Martingale collars. I believe that some harnesses might have a Martingale mechanism to them, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to stick with just the Martingale collars. Martingale collars can be a bit controversial when it comes to dog trainers and among dog trainers. There are many people that swear by them and say that that's all they'll ever use is a Martingale collar on a dog. I am very much into it's a study of one, and I will only use a Martingale collar as absolutely necessary for the dog that I'm working with. The main purpose of a Martingale collar is going to be to offer safety. Most of the time when I'm going to recommend or use a Martingale collar, I'm probably going to recommend that Martingale collar on a dog that is a risk or at risk of backing out of their collar. The owner is struggling to control the dog in some sort of environment. Say the dog is, and I'm not saying this is a solution to reactivity, it is definitely not. But if the dog is displaying high levels of aggression or reactivity in certain environments that the dog has to be put into because of the home environment, there's no other way around it. They have to go out on the street, they have to go potty, they have to get out of the house. In those cases, sometimes I will suggest a Martingale collar in conjunction with a harness. There are other tools that I might suggest in those circumstances as well, but definitely the Martingale is probably one of the first ones I'm going to say, hey, I know the dog is probably going to be receptive to a collar, and I might recommend a Martingale collar so the dog can't back out. And this is a safety thing, as well as it gives the person a little bit more leverage on the dog's head and neck, where a harness just isn't going to allow that kind of control. And so a Martingale collar might allow a little bit more control, and in those circumstances, I might recommend one. I'm very particular about the type of Martingale collar that I'm going to recommend. So I have 3 Martingale collars placed out here in front of me, because again, they aren't really all that diverse. There's really 2 main ones that you're going to see. It's going to be a regular Martingale collar and a prong collar. So let's discuss. Prong collars are Martingale collars. This is best seen by the fact that it has the smaller loop and stops the collar from cinching all the way around the dog's neck. Of course, I would not recommend a prong collar pretty much in any circumstance as a training tool. And really, in general, Martingales aren't a training tool. Collars, period, are not a training tool. They're not going to help your training. And I'm never going to recommend one that is designed for that purpose. I definitely use Martingale collars. Like I said, I will recommend a Martingale collar. My favorite is one that has a buckle or a quick release on it, so that one, you can get it off of the dog's head should they be wearing it not attached to a leash, and this loop can become a danger when I've seen dogs get paws stuck in this. I've seen dogs if they were playing with another dog, hook another dog's paw through it. So they can really pose a threat, especially if they're just wearing a Martingale collar out in public, and I just highly recommend, for the most part, you just take them off, which is why I often sell and recommend the quick release collar so that it functions like a regular collar. Should the dog get into a situation, it is capable, you're capable of quickly unclipping the collar and letting it fall off the dog. A traditional Martingale collar is going to slip over the dog's head, so usually it's got quite a bit of leeway. You can make it really, really big to put over the dog's head. The goal with a Martingale is to cinch up around the dog's neck and not strangle the dog. So it has a stopping point that when you pull, it only will get that tight. It's pretty tight and still going to apply some pressure to the dog's neck and can still cause choking. This is kind of an in-between a flat collar, which is a collar that does not cinch down or activate in any way around the dog's neck, and a slip collar, which is going to slip all the way through and can really choke out a dog and does not have that stopping point. So that's kind of the thing with a martingale, is that it has a stopping point, and usually determined by this like extra loop fabric of kind of extra loop. Sometimes it's a chain, sometimes it's fabric. Either way, it slips and releases. So this one, slip over martingale collar, just slips over the head. You want to make sure that your collar obviously is loose enough to be able to do that, which is really easy to do with a martingale because it has that extra cinching effect. See if I can see that. But when I pull up on this, it has a stopping point, in which case this is pretty tight around this dog's neck, but it isn't going to choke them out completely. That's the part of a martingale that I really like and will recommend, because some dogs are capable of backing out of their collar. Once this cinches down, it's nice and tight, and it's typically even over a pin-headed dog, you're not going to get it over their head. But it does require that cinching effect, which can be dangerous to the throat area. Same with a prong collar. Of course, a prong collar has these barbaric prongs around it, which causes an immense amount of pain. Oh, this is way too small for this dog, but we'll pretend. It is absolutely barbaric, but yes, then when pressure is applied, these prongs will then pinch down or cinch down around the neck, causing a decent amount of pain. Don't let anybody ever try to fool you into thinking that this does not cause your dog any harm or pain. Just look at the mechanism. If it's functioning like a martingale collar does, it has this triangle or separate round piece here. It has a stopping point on how tight the collar can go around the dog's neck. It's going to stop from completely choking the dog out. But now we've added these prongs, which then are going to stab into, poke the dog's neck, cinch around the dog's neck. And the way that these are designed with this curve within the prong, so there's this curve here, and that actually, when pinching down around the neck, it actually pinches, so these prongs are brought together and will actually grab bits of skin as well as push into the skin. So it's a really barbaric tool that we use in the name of training, and this I would never recommend as a martingale collar, but I do want to put it out there and say that this is a martingale collar. It's just a really barbaric one that has spikes on it. When it comes to training, no tool is going to train your dog. All tools are just means of keeping the dog and those around the dog safe, and so that's when I'm going to use and recommend a martingale collar, is to keep the dog or prevent the dog from slipping back out of a collar if you are using a collar, and then it's also to gain control of a dog's head when obviously if you have control of a dog's head, you can then move the dog around. This is true for large animals like horses as well, but whenever you have control of an animal's head, it's quite easy to move the rest of their body. Their body's going to follow their head, right? And if a dog is not trained for a head collar, which I'll do another video on talking about the pros and cons of head collars, but if the dog is not trained for a head collar, which you do need training for, the martingale is kind of a step up from a harness, but it's not a training tool. This is a safety tool that allows you to not lose your dog on the street. We'll apply a little bit more pressure, in which case the dog can't back out and is more likely to kind of comply to where you're asking the dog to move to. So my favorite one is a buckle clip martingale collar. So this is what I would say by far the most safest collar to use, is this buckle clip collar. So it has that clip in case the dog gets itself into some tricky situation where the collar is wrapped around a foot, a leg, its own leg, another dog's leg, wrapped around a tree. A variety of things can happen when wearing this. By the way, can I just point out, like those that keep their dogs, like just allow their dogs to run and play off leash in a prong collar is so dangerous. I'm talking about flat collars that the only thing it can do is choke up on the dog, and if it's playing with another dog, just common sense. don't leave a prong collar. If you do have a prong collar on your dog, don't leave a prong collar on your dog. If it is off leash, take the prong collar off. Put the prong collar back on when it goes back onto a leash. That's all I'm saying. I've just seen that happen, and I just blows my mind how absolutely dangerous that could be. This is dangerous enough, and this doesn't have any prongs to do any more damage to the dog, but still dangerous enough that it should always have a quick release. Martingale collars are most notable by their extra triangle loop of fabric or chain. I still prefer fabric. It's gonna cause the least amount of pressure. Chain is just not comfortable. You know, take that chain and put that into your skin. It's got more bumps to it, and the smaller the pressure point, the more pain it's gonna hurt, which is why a prong collar hurts so bad, also known as a pinch collar. Definitely not my go-to collar. If the dog is running off leash, take it off. Even your regular martingales, and it is not, final comment, it is not a correction tool. Snap that collar or pop the dog with the collar. That is not what a collar is designed for. That is not what a martingale should be used for. I know that's kind of what typically pinch collars, what they say to do with them. I'm just reiterating that they're barbaric and outdated, and that I, as a positive reinforcement trainer, I might recommend a martingale collar, but it's for safety only, and it's not meant to be a correction tool. There is never supposed to be force or correction on that collar. It is simply to keep the dog from backing out of the collar and to give you absolute maximum control over your dog's head before you have trained other things. So typically I'm going to train that dog to wear a head collar, or I'm going to train that dog to work with a harness. But in the meantime, when a collar is all you've got, a martingale collar can become very handy. All right, that's a martingale collar. I have 3 styles here. I have a quick release style, the slip over style, and a prong or pinch collar. All 3 of these are what is considered a martingale collar. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. If you need more information about dog training, or you need help with your reactive or aggressive dog, please reach out to kindanimalservices.com, and I'd be happy to discuss further training techniques with you. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.